இங்க எப்படி groceries எல்லாம் வாங்குனீங்க?
That was about 60 years back. I am now 63 years old. So in those days, grocery store, used to live in a village. So grocery store la chinnada irukum. Whatever we say, the persons will take a list and then bring it back. Most of them are grown in the field itself. அப்புறம் கொஞ்சம் வயசு பெருசாக போனோம்னா I went to nearby taller quarters for schools. That's more shops இருக்கும். அங்கே one shop will have only one items. So it's not as if that same store will have many items. So அங்கே போய் வாங்க வேண்டியது. எப்படி?
Place to place.
Place to place, mostly by buses. Initially I even got on a boulevard லாம் போயிருக்கேன். Buses or trains from place to place.
நீங்க எப்படி food எல்லாம் சமைப்பீங்க?
நான் ரொம்ப சமைக்கிறது கிடையாது. எங்கள் அம்மா பண்ணுவா, பாட்டி பண்ணுவா அப்போல்லாம். அப்புறம் ஒய்ஃப் பண்ணுவா. இப்போ டாட்டர்ஸ் எல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன்.
கேஸ்லையும் யூஸ் பண்ணாதீங்க.
கேஸ் எல்லாம் கிடையாது. நான் முதல்ல இருக்க ஃபயர்வுட் யூஸ் பண்ணுவோம். ஒரு அடுப்பு இருக்கும். ஃபயர்வுட் போட்டு சார்கோல் ஃபயர்வுட் எல்லாம் அந்த காலத்தில் பண்ணினாங்க. இன்ஃபேக்ட் ஈவன் when I'm 40, but even 20 years back, they used to use charcoal and firewood. Gases got introduced around that time, from 23 years back. இந்தியாவிலலாம் லிக்விட் கேஸ்னு சிலிண்டரில் வரும். அது we used to முதலே புக் பண்ணி அட்வான்ஸாக வாங்கி வச்சுக்கணும். It's not readily available. They supply once in a month or so we collect it.
So let's do a quick summary here. So look at how differently they used to live back then whereas now. So firstly, one of the questions were, how did you get groceries back then? Well, grocery stores were quite small and they weren't exactly what you would nowadays call supermarkets or markets. They were just vendors, street vendors by the fact. They used to go get your list and they used to go buy the food and get the food that you wanted. You would pay with the money. And so that's basically how back then you could get groceries. Another question was, how did you get from place to place? Well, mostly it was by bus. Back then the bus system was okay, but it's not as safe as it is today. There was also horse-drawn carts or cow-drawn carts. Mind you, this is about like 50 years back. Another question that was asked was, how did you cook back then? There were no electrical stove burners. There weren't any refrigerators. So how did people survive back then? They didn't use any energy. It was usually just human toil that did all the work. For refrigeration, they used ice and salt to preserve their food. To cook, they had to use firewood to light the stove. I mean, look at us how we are taking advantage of how we are living even nowadays and we're not happy with it. Back then, they didn't have any of this. That's an important lesson for this generation to learn.
How did you store your food?
ஃபுட் வந்து நாங்கள் ஒரு பழைய சாதம்லாம் நிறைய ஸ்டோர் பண்ணோம். ஃப்ரிட்ஜு கிடையாது அப்போல்லாம். மிஞ்சினதெல்லாம் ஒரு தண்ணி போட்டு வச்சுருப்பேன். நெக்ஸ்ட் டே மார்னிங் we don't store it more than for a day. ஒரு நாள் தான் வச்சுப்பேன். நெக்ஸ்ட் டே we used to have the rice, the old இருக்கும். In fact, that water from the old rice is very good for diet, சொல்லுவேன், for digestion and everything.
How was your school?
Yeah, school was good. I used to have a village school up to class 5. Then as I told you, I moved to taller quarters for elementary school. It's not as if that one particular place will have elementary school and middle school. So elementary school village இருக்கும். Middle school க்கு taller quarters போனேன். அப்புறம் for a college I went to district quarter. And then for my IIT I come to Madras. And the Mari, it was from village to taller to Mari.
How much food that you got was from your farm?
Farmland நிறைய வரும். In fact, we had a lot of land, so most of the rice we never buy rice. Rice வந்துடும். And then the vegetables also we get from the farms. Maybe some dal and some few items which we don't cultivate, we used to get from the shops.
Energy consumption.
ஓகே அந்த காலத்தில் எனர்ஜி நான் படிக்கும்போது லைட்ஸ் ரொம்ப கிடையாது. யூஸ் ஹரிக்கன் லைட்டில் படிச்சுட்டு இருந்தேன். ஸோ ஈவன் ஃபார் லைட்டிங் வி யூஸ் டு ஹேவ் ஆயில் lamp ஃபார் thing here. For cooking, as I told you, we have a firewood thing here. So energy consumption பார்த்தீங்கன்னா not much in those days. Even the grinder, இட்லி கடைக்கு மாவு கிரைண்டர்லாம் கல்லில் அடைப்பா. ஒரு வுடன் ஒரு ஸ்டோன் மாட்டர் இருக்கும். ஸ்டோன் மாட்டில் போட்டு we used to do that. It's a good exercise even for pounding the rice, to take the rice out of the paddy. Normally rice வந்து பேடிக்குள்ளே இருக்கும். அதில் உமியெல்லாம் இருக்கணும். அது உமி மாதிரி போட்டு அடிப்பா. It's a good exercise for people, no energy being used. அதெல்லாம் I'm telling you about 30 years back. But over the period, then we got into the mixies and grinders and this kind of stuff. But initially, not much energy was required. It's only human energy and human labor was initial spending.
How much water did you guys use and where did you get the water from?
Yeah, most of the water comes from in my village. I have a well next to my house, so we have a pulley and then we pull the water from that. That's a pond and the lake. We call them as the Oorini. Every small village will have a Oorini. Oorini means ஊருக்கு அணியா இருக்கும். அணினா அழகா இருக்கும். ஊருக்கு அழகா இருக்கும். Lot of storage water. And then will be a big kulam mari irukum. From there the rainwater is stored and then the raining water they use that and for cultivating the fields. So most of the water comes from the Oorini, kulam and wells. Of course most of them we depend on rainwater. So
How do you use the water there?
as I told you, the water used to be in the lake mari, kulam mari irukum. And they have a pathi mari. They have in a typical village they'll have about 100, 200 farmers working in the field. So they dig a pathway. We call them as Vaikal they used to call it. They have a pathway from the lake to various places, and then to each outlet they take a manvati eduthu, they thondi eduthu, they divert the water. After about 1 hour, after that particular field is closed, they close that path and the water will continue to go next field. So with just a manual labor from the water from the lake, it used to go to the